It was 1 year ago this weekend that the family of Soleiman Faqiri found out that the 30-year-old had died inside of a prison in Lindsay, Ontario, a maximum security facility where he was being held. Soleiman Faqiri was living with schizophrenia, and what his family said he needed after he was arrested and taken to jail was actually to be in the hospital, not to be in a jail cell. He was found with at least 50 blunt force trauma wounds after guards entered his cell. He was being held in isolation, that is solitary confinement. And by all accounts, guards beat Mr. Faqiri, causing his death or leading up to his death, and yet no one a year later has been held accountable for that. The family of Soleiman Faqiri held a vigil on Friday. I was there, and one of the people who spoke, in addition to myself, was his brother, Yusuf Faqiri. Yusuf Faqiri joins us on the line in Toronto today. Hello.
Hi, Desmond.
Thank you so much for your time, Yusuf. And I want to begin by asking you how your family has been coping as you've passed through this anniversary of your brother's death in the Lindsay jail.
You know, Desmond, it's been it's been extremely difficult to cope because, as I said before, time has not healed the wounds. You know, time has not stopped the tears. And what's made this so extremely difficult and appalling and disgraceful, Desmond, is we're asking the same question that we asked the night that my late brother, where we found out where he died. We're still asking for that same question: is why was he killed under government care? We still, stunningly, Desmond, have not been given that answer by the authorities.
Speaking of the authorities, the Kawartha Lakes Police Department were the ones chosen to investigate what happened to Soleiman Faqiri and to see if any criminal charges would be laid, because he very clearly sustained a very bad beating. There are reports that 10 to 20 guards entered his cell before he received that beating. How does your family feel about the fact that the Kawartha Lakes Police Department came back and said no one is going to be charged in this death?
You know, Desmond, it's one way to make that announcement, that they weren't going to press charges, but the way they made the announcement was just utterly callous and just unprofessional and extremely difficult and quite an insult to my family. We were actually promised that before they were going to make the announcement, before they were going to make their decision, they would meet with my family. But the fact of the matter is, Desmond, we were told throughout the 11 months leading up to end of October when they made their decision that this is a complex case. We were just working on this, kept telling them, give us a few weeks. And then this whole complex case, Desmond, was summarized in an email to the family lawyer. They did not call my family. They emailed. But this, Desmond, you said there's 10.
I'm sorry, folks. Once again, we're just having problems on the line here. Yusuf, if you can just hang on, we're going to try and patch that up. I'm speaking with Yusuf Faqiri, who is the brother of Soleiman Faqiri, who died inside of a Lindsay maximum security prison a year ago this weekend. It was actually December 15th of 2016. An investigation found that Soleiman Faqiri received at least 50 blunt force trauma wounds to his body. He was bruised all over. He had multiple guards, reports saying potentially between 10 and 20 guards, prison guards, entering his facility. Imagine a scene like that. And yet after all of that, no one has been held accountable. And that's what we've been speaking with Yusuf about, and the fact that a year later, the family is still looking for answers. Have we got you back on the line, Yusuf?
Yes, Desmond.
I apologize about that. I'm sorry. You sound much better now.
So, as I said, Desmond, in addition to the 10 to 20 guards, sir, there was, then in addition to the 50 bruises, he was pepper sprayed twice. In those 11 days that he was in custody, Desmond, he was in segregation the entire time. We know that, Desmond, that both his hands and his legs were cuffed. We do know that there's a video that shows him walking down the hallway. We have not seen the video. We have not been given the video. And we're told that there are no grounds for charges. In addition to this, Desmond, we a family applied for the Freedom of Information request, and we were recently denied that as well.
So the government just said no to your request to have certain questions answered about this transparently?
The police denied the request to the lawyers, saying that there is an internal investigation happening by the ministry, but we were not aware that there was an internal investigation happening by the ministry until we got our request denied, Desmond.
We know that Soleiman Faqiri was living with schizophrenia and that after he had been arrested, he was actually awaiting a transfer, Yusuf, from that hospital to a mental health facility. We need to take a break here, but when we come back, I want to ask you more about your brother's health when he went in and what you hope would have happened instead of the way that he was treated and arrested and held in this really, really horrific way. So please, if you can stay with us after the break, Yusuf, that would be wonderful. I was alluding to the fact that your brother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and was dealing with his condition. You and others who have been asking for answers into his death have really been speaking a lot about the intersection of people with mental health issues and our prison system. Would you like to tell our listeners a little about that as it relates to your brother?
Absolutely, Desmond. Let's highlight a few things here with my brother and also the broader picture here. My brother was waiting to be transferred to Ontario Shores. The transfer was already ordered, and he was Ontario Shores is a mental health facility, and he was waiting for the bed essentially, but he never made it there. Desmond, in the same few months around my brother's death, there was 3 other deaths with individuals with mental illness, 2 in Ottawa and then 1 in Thunder Bay, and the 4th one, my brother. That were all people with mental illness. 2 individuals in Ottawa had schizophrenia, and the man that died in Ottawa, he had bipolar. And the last few years, Evan, there's been 34 deaths, according to some statistics. People with, that there's been deaths in the prison system. So this is an important but a very alarming trend that is going on here. And what's even more disgraceful, what's happened to my late brother, is that we've effectively been stonewalled. We have not been giving any answers as to what happened to him. We still do not know the names of the individuals that were involved in his death. We still do not know, we have not been given any accountability or transparency by neither the police or the Ministry of Community Safety or Correctional Services.
Yusuf, we had somebody call us during the break and say that they had not heard of this case of your brother before and that they were interested in knowing how they can connect with your fight to get information and to find justice for him. And I know a lot of other people out here listening are probably only hearing now, I should say, about this case for the first time. How is your family and community organizing to keep people informed of what's happening? Well,
Desmond, we have a Facebook page called Justice for Sully. We have a website called justiceforsully.com.
That's SOLI for everybody out there.
Yeah, SOLI. We have Twitter, but we send press releases on a weekly basis. But we're doing speaking engagements in the next month in January with different organizations. We've done different speaking engagements as well, and we just held a vigil that had an incredible turnout with speakers from different perspectives. But people in this province, Ontarians and Canadians, get it, Desmond, that this case should disturb everybody. Anybody who has a conscience, anybody who believes in the importance of mental illness should be disturbed by this case, because everybody in this province has a stake. Because today with Soleiman, this could happen to someone else tomorrow. And that's why my family's fighting for it. We're trying to fight for accountability and transparency so this doesn't happen to someone else. And that's why we will continue to fight, because this has to stop. My brother, just like everyone else, had hopes and dreams. Just like everyone else, he was a very smart man who spoke 3 languages. He was studying engineering before he was diagnosed with his illness. But just like everyone else, more importantly, Desmond, he had a family that loved and cared about him. And he was killed in the very institution that was supposed to take care of him. So everybody who's listening, the best way for them to help us is to follow us on our Facebook page. We will continue to have events. And this isn't just about my brother, Desmond. This is about people with mental illness that are suffering in the prison system. And there are so many. There's so many cases, people with mental illness that are suffering in the prison system that need to be heard. And it's disgraceful, and it is absolutely appalling the way this family has treated, but we'll continue to ask for the same question: transparency and accountability. An inquest was called into my late brother's death for next year, but in addition to the inquest, we're going to continue to push the police for answers because we are waiting for that FOI request. We were denied the investigation report from the police.
Yusuf, this is a story that we're going to continue following into the new year, but for now, I want to honor your courage and the courage of your family in speaking out so publicly about this. We wish you all the best. We are pulling for you here on this show, and we will continue to follow this story with you. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Desmond, for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's Yusuf Faqiri, the brother of Soleiman Faqiri.